Hello, guys. Sorry for being a little bit late. Anyway, we will be watching the Beijing final between Jannik Sinner and Lerner Tien. Hope you're here already, despite the kind of weird hour for us to be streaming at. Beijing final was like 3 hours later, I believe, last year. But now they're starting at 8 a.m. my time. Anyway, yeah, I mean, the game is already not going too well for Leonard Tien, who is love 40 on serve. I'm going to put the score on the screen in a moment. Tough to say. I mean, it's obviously like Lerner has been winning against top 10 opponents consistently this season. He has 5 top 10 wins already, which is awesome, before turning 20. He defeated Matt Musetti, top 10 right now, and Medvedev, top 20 right now this week as well. Both of them via retirement. So, there is some sort of a question mark to that, I suppose. But either way, I mean, it's not like he hasn't been doing that all season, essentially. Now he's also saved 2 breakpoints, so just one more coming up. Of course, his serve game isn't that great. So it's not a big deal actually if he gets broken. At least it's not as big as for some other players, right? Because he has the tools to make up. We'll just see if he has the tools to make up against someone like Jannik. At least on paper, if you can just like punch through the court at a high percentage and like not overplay, but keep doing it, you should be good against Lerner. And Jannik can do that. Tien's game is tricky. Tien's game is a little quirky, a little bit, unusual, and that could definitely lead to some good results for him here. I mean, that's not what I meant to do, but I'm trying to get you the scores right now. Anyway, Jannik breaks. There was a double fault early on there from Lerner. There was also a moment when basically there was this like super long exchange, and you could see exactly what I was talking about a second ago, right? That basically, if it's like a really long point, Jannik still has the tools to just keep going until he finds that opening. Like he doesn't need to risk as much as the other players do, maybe. And that's really helpful against Lerner if he can pull this off consistently. He's the word number 2. He's been extremely dominant on hard courts over the past couple of seasons. In fact, I think 23-2 for the year on hard, or 22-2, and both losses, of course, to Carlos Alcaraz. He hasn't lost to anybody not named Alcaraz on hard court since Rublev last year in Cincinnati. Sorry, not Cincinnati, Montreal. So, I mean, the challenge for Lerner here is massive. As a whole, this week has been a storyline on the ATP Tour of, we get Carlos at one event, Jannik at the other. So, can anyone stop them? I was doing ATP Weekly last week with Vansh, and our conclusions were that, yeah, I mean, if somebody can, it's probably going to be to Carlos because, Tokyo is a little faster than Beijing. Not as good for him in terms of the conditions. Plus, also, you have the fact that basically he had the tougher potential opponents. Like, I don't know, number 2 seed Taylor Fritz right now is a bigger threat than number 2 seed Alexander Zverev, and etc. So Carlos has done it. He dropped a set, I believe, to Casper Ruud, right? So it wasn't like super pleasant, I guess. Jannik also has dropped a set to Terence Atman. Probably should have dropped another to Fabian Marozsan, who served for it, but just completely like had a meltdown over the next 3 games. And now he plays Lerner Tien in the final, which, if it wasn't for the fact that Lerner has such a weird, quirky game, it would seem like a complete landslide victory coming up. But I don't know. Maybe he finds something to like mess up Jannik like he has for the other opponents. I don't know if I fully see it. I'm a bit afraid of this final just being a 1 hour, 15-minute affair, but we'll see. So far, Jannik is getting through this game based on some very good serving. That is a big advantage for him today. As I said, Tien cannot really like rely on holding as much as the other players do, right? He has a decent slider serve out wide. Like it can bring him some 3 points. Down the tee, he sometimes goes for an ace and gets there. but most of the time it's just going to be a point starter rather than anything crazy, especially on the deuce side. So he cannot rely on holding serve as much as the other opponents. So he has to be also breaking more. And he does that, against 95% opponents, he does that. But will he be able to do it against Jannik? That is the question. Sinner tries to end the game with a drop shot, but it's an easy one for Lerner to catch up to and put away. Interesting call there, but we'll see. If he just closes out the game, it's not a big deal. But 40-30, I don't think he's won much besides his serve yet this game, Sinner. I think he just misses that serve out wide, yeah. The percentages have been a bit better. I mean, we know that Jannik has been training a lot on his serve after the US Open. You probably have to wait for like an Alcaraz match to properly see it. Anyway, he finally wins a baseline point after Lerner mishits a forehand. So 2 games to love, Sinner. And now is when, you really want Lerner to claim that 1 game, right? In order for this to be competitive in the opening set. Because if he just goes down 2 breaks here, it's going to be a really, really difficult hill to climb. Let's see if he can produce anything like, aggressively. It's not what he likes, but if he gets a first serve in, maybe there's going to be some chances. Jannik with a really deep return. Lerner still in play though, absorbing, redirecting, neutralizing, and going for a big forehand down the line on the run. He lands that as well. That's a crazy shot. React, my friend. I mean, after a shot like this, I would be on the floor and just as if I won Wimbledon. Come on, Lerner, react to this somehow. And yeah, that was great. That was basically out of position by this point. If there was an equivalent to expected goals, as it is in soccer or football. I said soccer because a lot of you guys watching at this hour, well, actually at this hour, you might not be American, maybe on the West Coast. But anyway, I was just gonna say that like if there was an equivalent to expected goals, which is this computerized stat that tells you how a certain shot, like how often does it result in a goal. It's a number from 0 to 1. And if there was an expected points stat on winners in tennis, that one from Lerner would have been like 0.01, I think. Anyway, 15-all here. Jannik tries to go for a big counter cross court with the forehand. Gonna miss it by a little bit. Yeah. We, of course, have also Shanghai action right now, has already started. Oh, God. Announced that next year will be his last on the tour. At the end of the 2026 season. I mean, this was coming, right? Hmm. And he's even mentioning that he doesn't expect to win a Grand Slam next year. Shocking news. Anyway, Lerner gets the game. So that's a good moment for him to like get a foothold on this match a little bit. And, well, maybe not a foothold, but, just settle down a little bit more. Calm down the nerves, and we'll see if he can make it more of a fight. The first service game for Jannik wasn't that breezy. And obviously, Lerner is one of the better returners in the sport. Again, as I said, he has to have that to like make up for the serve frailties. But yeah, he definitely can trouble Jannik on return a little bit more than the other players. So in terms of that Shanghai action, we've got Goffin, who is defending quarterfinal points, playing against Miller. They just started the third set. David probably should have won the opener, but didn't. And now he's not in trouble, but It's not that easy, obviously. Fucsovics up a set on Munar. Luca Nardi looks like he's about to defeat Sebastian Offner, for whom I believe this will be the 8th loss in a row. So, yeah, not doing too hot there. Mattia Bellucci defeated Adam Walton, and Jordan Thompson has already started against August Holmgren. Of course, Beijing is an event that is combined between WTA and ATP, and it's on a bit of a different schedule, right? Because the Beijing event on the WTA is 1,000. It lasts a week and a half. So I think we're still on the 4th round stage there, at least in one half of the draw. And these matches will basically come a bit more or less later in the day. I mean, Potapova Noskova should be pretty soon, but Andreeva, Kartal, and especially Świątek Navarro, Kostyuk, Pegula, these matches will be held after Sinner and Tien on the main arena here, which I believe is called Capital Group Diamond. Jannik serving at 2-1. T-bomb and drive volley to put it away. Yeah, if he's serving like this, it will be very difficult for Lerner to keep himself on this match. It's more the question of like what happens when the actual points get played, you know, and whether Jannik can hit at high targets, rather big targets, I should probably say. High percentage targets is maybe what I was going for. And just kind of keep pushing for these openings that take work. Another great serve down the tee, this time with a bit of a slice on it as well. I think Lerner was definitely expecting him to go wide. A bit late to react. Wow, crazy shot from Sinner here. Forehand down the line off the funky slice from Lerner. Typically, when you play a shot like this, you just expect the opponent to have to slow down, but Jannik says no. I mean, easy to do it at 30 love in the game, I guess. Or easy, not easy, but a little bit more easy to commit to doing it, and then you still have to land it. So while the first hold for Jannik was not that breezy, this one is looking pretty rapid so far. 40 love. Of course, Alcaraz has already pulled out of Shanghai. We'll see what Jannik does, if he wins the title or if he doesn't. I think that Jannik will probably play. I mean, at least on paper, he is a lot more fresher than the other guys on tour right now, right? Because he missed 3 months in the spring. So he should have a bit more fuel for the rest of the season. I think some of the conversations, like I saw this tweet from Vansh yesterday, which I thought was just really naive, when he said that, this really improves Sinner's chances to end number one, because if he wins Shanghai, Beijing, and Vienna, he's gonna be 1,000 points away from Alcaraz or something like that. I mean, you can't just like sit. I know it's Yannick Sinner, but you can't just sit here and say, "Oh, he's gonna win this, this, this," and then he's 1,000 points away. Like that's not a realistic course of action. Plus, it's also like not really anything crazy, right? 1,000 points away still. Of course, the most important stat is just that both won 2 slams each this season. Number one is practically irrelevant in my mind, but probably not for them at this point in time because, well, what else are they aiming for this season, considering the slams are over? That second serve from Lerner was barely in, but he really uses the fact that he got Jannik out of position, goes to the net, and will smash it away. Yeah, good reaction after Jannik was just so far out of the tram lines in the, after the return. Uses the angle, moves in, I wonder if he hit that smash cleanly. I'm not sure. Anyway, here's that slider serve doing damage, right? I mean, it's slow, but simply the direction and the spin, it can definitely lead to some opponents messing up. I mean, you've just had Arthur Fields, right? Oh, just okay, but like next gen finals, do you remember what Arthur Fields was doing to the Lerner Tien serve? It was just looking like, I don't know. It was basically as if he was playing Goran Ivanisevic, even though obviously he wasn't. So it's not as weak as it seems. I'll just say that. I think some people by default just keep rambling about Lerner Tien's serve being some sort of a thing holding him back massively. And yeah, it will. Yeah, sure. Like to an extent, yes. I do think his game has a cap on it. But it is a more effective serve than it seems on paper. Well, not when you double fault though. And it's gonna be 2 breakpoints for Jannik to go 2 breaks up now. And the point starts here. Lerner spreading it pretty well with the backhand, but Jannik just survives. Should close this out at the net, and he does. 4-1 up, 2 breaks. I mean, so far it's been as comfortable as it possibly can, I think. Like a 6-2, 6-2 outcome for Sinner today. Would that be rough for Lerner? That's probably like on the verge of being acceptable, to be fair. We'd like to see him, push Jannik a little bit more. But so far, the first 5 games are not really telling us that. Sorry. And also, I was going to say about the leftiness. Alexander Zverev, right? He hasn't lost to a lefty other than Lerner Tien since February 2023. So there's definitely some trickiness in there, considering that Zverev is basically owning all lefties because he has such a strong backhand. And yet Lerner is able to come away with the win there in Acapulco this season. Sorry, I had this incident earlier today when I basically did something to myself in the shower. Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe it will be better now. Yeah, I've been struggling with my throat because of water going down the wrong drain. Anyway, never mind. Yeah, still not fine. Luca Nardi defeated Sebastian Hoffner in the meantime in Shanghai. Goffin up a break on Miller. Maybe he can save some of these quarterfinal points. That would be cool for him. Oh, and we have the producer on, as I see. Yeah, I can stop the screen share. Okay, yeah. No. 4-1. We're gonna be back after a moment. Just let me. Okay. Yeah, 19 minutes in, 2 breaks up, Sinner already. Can't really expect him to lose this kind of a lead, I don't think. He's had some rougher games on serve though this week. Obviously lost the set to Atman, and there was a crazy patch in there where they were losing serve to love for 4 consecutive games. Marozsan served for the set. Who did Jannik even play in the semis? Oh, Alex de Minaur. Yeah, he dropped a set there too, right? He dropped 2 sets along the way. He dropped a set to 11 meetings. So, washed. Jannik Sinner is completely washed. No, I mean, of course, against the Minor, it was another match where, there were rougher patches. It's not like he's been 100% amazing, the best he can be. Then again, I mean, you could argue that if Jannik Sinner is the worst possible matchup on tour for Alex de Minaur, then he's probably also the worst possible matchup on tour for Lerner Tien. He's actually the worst possible matchup on tour for anyone right now but Carlos Alcaraz, I guess. But even if Carlos is leading the head-to-head, I guess he's the worst possible matchup for Carlos Alcaraz. He's just the toughest player to beat on tour right now, I suppose. Still, even though Carlos has had a better season up to date. Yeah, because if you were to choose a player of the year, I mean, it would be Carlos, right? Okay, a bit too safe on that second serve return, and Lerner steps in, cuts it short. He can definitely do that. Maybe he can punish some of the Jannik second serves here. That would definitely help out. I believe in the entire tournament, he's won like 61% of his second serve return points or something like that. But obviously, as I said, like with serve return stats, Lerner is always going to be a bit better on return, a bit worse on serve than the other players. Just kind of, just how his game works, right? I also saw that tennis insights chart, with the serve quality, return quality, backhand quality, and forehand quality for these two players, from how they've performed in the tournament so far. And I mean, as you would expect, right? Jannik was just dominating every single stat. Besides serve quality, which is pretty similar to the average on tour for Jannik, all his stats are just sky high. It's like we've said many times. Like if the game was literally just hitting serve, return, forehand, backhand, Jannik would be dominating the tour to like no end. And well, he's actually kind of dominating the tour to no end. Besides Carlos Alcaraz, who obviously isn't posting as high numbers in these stats. Maybe on the forehand he can, maybe on the serve he's getting there, but on return on the backhand not really. But it's not a game of just these four shots. And players like the Minor, who I already mentioned, or Lerner Tien, they show it because their stats in like tennis insights, they're gonna be dreadful. But it's not really what the game's about. The basics of the game are covered there, but you have so much more going into winning a tennis match, and that's actually part of what makes Lerner so good, right? Just making the opponent kind of play his game, making the opponent play poorly in some sense. Zverev Tien was an ultimate matchup of that in Acapulco. Although Zverev would obviously post pretty high numbers on the backhand quality, I guess, but you know what I mean. They both like to like slow down the game a lot and just drag the opponent down. Michael Chang in the stands. He is working with Leonard Tien since the US Open, I think. Yeah, I think his debut in the coaching box of Leonard Tien was against Novak. So obviously it wasn't a long debut, maybe, but it was also a very tough opponent. US Open round one. Lerner right now is up to like 36th in the rankings, I think, with chances to be seeded for Australia. We'll see if he can do it. That would help out, of course. Just allow him to avoid drawing somebody like that in the opening round. Ace down the tee from Jannik at deuce. And what's the next point? He was thinking of transitioning to the net there, but decided not to. And making a few more forehand errors this game, Jannik. So we're still in this deuce. Of course, it's a lefty-righty matchup, so all the patterns are kind of, opposites to what they are typically. And Lerner hitting that backhand crosscourt at Jannik's forehand seems to be pretty decent so far for the American, despite, of course, losing. Does he find that ace? I think so. Yeah, the serving from Jannik has been strong so far. That's not helping out the cause of the young American. Thank you, David Bowie, for ruining the phrase young American for me. Every single time I say it, I just hear it instantly too. I mean, it's a good song, so I guess not ruining maybe, but I don't think Lerner Tien remembers his president Nixon and the bills he had to pay. Oh, even yesterday. Anyway, let's not get super niche. 5-1 Jannik Sinner with another good first serve. 26 minutes in, this was a long game, 7 minutes more or thereabouts. Definitely a couple of deuces in there, but Jannik is still serving very well. And with 2 breaks up in this first set, he's looking good for claiming it. Let's see if he can do it right away, or if he will have to wait. Very deep return. Lerner is not going to handle it. High percentage through the middle of the court. Again, it's good against Tien. I mean, definitely. Just can't really come out against Lerner and expect to win by risking every single shot. We've barely seen players do it to him this year. Like Nico Jari at Wimbledon was probably the only real example. That's nice. That's another good example of the wide serve, the slider, doing damage despite not having any speed on it. Because Jannik is just so far out of the court that it allows Lerner to hit that +1 forehand into the open space. I think especially indoors, that serve is really good. Of course, we're not playing indoors here. I'm just thinking more towards the end of the season. Again, just superb depth from Jannik. Almost can't beat that. And now it's 15:30. With the third break of the set looking more and more likely. It's scandalous how much better Lerner is on that outside, you know? Again, just uses the same serve, and Jannik has to come up with this not even block return. It's like he's saving himself with that slice. 30 all. I'd like to see stats. I don't know if they actually exist, but I'd like to see stats like how many points does Lerner win on the deuce side and how many on the outside. Must be a big difference for him. It might be a big difference for any lefty, to be quite honest with you, which is also a big advantage because you're going to be getting the outside on most of your breakpoints faced, right? So, but it might be like that for most lefties. I think it might be more extreme for Lerner, though. Anyway, 40-30 now. Let's see if he comes up with another slider or if he has any other idea for this next point. Probably should just go for it. Tries to go T. It's into the net, or rather into the net and outside. And he actually surprises Jannik with the direction they're going going T. So 5-2. And after the change of ends, Jannik will serve for the opening set. Still comfortably 2 breaks ahead. But we'll see, maybe it won't be so obvious from here. If there are going to be curveballs thrown by Lerner, he has to start soon. How many titles has Jannik won? It's 21 if he wins today. Right now, he's tied with Medvedev at 20 in terms of active players. But of course, there's also a few higher with Zverev, Alcaraz, and the likes, and Djokovic. If he wins ATP finals, would you make Jannik the player of the year? It depends what they do from here. If he beats presently, let's say neither Carlos nor Jannik win Shanghai or Paris, and then you're going to have them clashing in the ATP finals final, and Jannik wins it, I think Carlos is still the player of the year then. Because he beat Jannik in 2 slam finals, and he won a lot more overall. And I know this is a little unfair to Jannik, because, well, he didn't play for 3 months, right? So he actually still only has two titles, right? Australian Open and Wimbledon. He's fighting for his third today. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You have to judge them based on the resume, not on what they were allowed to play. If Jannik was unfit for 3 months instead of suspended, you wouldn't count that. And I think that has to be the same. It's unfair, but it's the reality of it. I think the ATP finals alone is not enough. But if Jannik wins, I don't know, everything from here, Shanghai, Bercy, ATP finals, Davis Cup, and beats Carlos like 2 or 3 times along the way, then sure, we have a conversation. For the time being, it kind of has to be Carlos. And I don't think one win in the ATP finals final, for example, would be enough to turn it around. I think the umpires issue with Medvedev, I think it's already been covered because the ATP just decided not to give Medvedev the fee and basically say that the umpire made an error. The problem is that like the tanking violations, not giving your best effort, it's a very gray area, right? I mean, how exactly are you gonna judge that? How exactly are you gonna like set the goalposts and everything? I think the umpires typically they don't take like they don't use this rule at all. Like I'm watching so many matches when the player is clearly throwing away half a set and nobody says a thing. I don't know. Andrea Pellegrino yesterday against Ingilsen, for example, in Lisbon, right? Sorry, not Lisbon, Braga. He was 4-1 up in the second set, and what he does in the next 5 games, I mean, I hope he was just tanking because it was really just, yeah, I mean, just literally threw it away the next 5 games. He just did not care whatsoever, and the umpire says nothing. And I think that's wrong. I mean, that it's just not going by the rules at all. But if the player is clearly physically hampered, like what I would do as the umpire in that situation and in the Medvedev match too, is ask, "Hey, so are you all right physically? Like, just on the changeover, just ask the player if they're fine." And if they say they're okay, I'm saying like you have to try. You have to give your best. Like that's the rule. So I'm giving you like a soft warning, right? Just telling you that if you keep going like this, I'm gonna have to give you an actual punishment. But the problem is that, like, I think, yeah, with Medvedev, they just didn't really care if he was fine physically, right? Who the hell is Jojo? I mean, Yannick only won 2 titles. He's playing like what? He's seven for eighth event. He lost to Carlos in how many finals? Four? Yeah. He's playing his eighth event. He won 2 titles, lost 4 finals to Alcaraz, and lost in Halle to Bublik. So it's not really a stat that is worth like paying attention to it right now yet. Anyway, easy hold for Yannick. The only point he lost was a double fault at 40-15, and now it's 6-2. It's the score. It's the scoreline that I mentioned, 20 minutes ago. 6-2, 6-2 is kind of probably the average expectation for this match. Now let's see if Lerner can kind of get into it a little bit more in the second set. Yeah, I mean, 4 out of 19 unreturned serves. I think that's a bit tough for Lerner though. That stat because he could have done more there, definitely, or like he actually did more with his serve. It's just that you're not gonna see the easy putaways he had, but still 10 out of 23 for Yannick. It's pretty striking, that's for sure. 11 to 10 winners and first errors for Sinner, 5-11 for Lerner. And yeah, below 50% on first serve points won for Lerner. Obviously, it's been a struggle for him. 3 double faults as well, not helping his cause when he really has to be as efficient as he possibly can. David Goffin, by the way, defeating Alexander Miller in 3 sets. And as I said, he's fighting to stay in the top 100. Jaume Munar trying to secure a third set against Marton Fucovic. August Holmgren as well playing Shanghai. Our friend up a break on Jordan Thompson so far. Let's see who. I know this isn't really the topic of this stream, but let's see who Goffin will play in the second round. Can he actually get some sort of a round going in Shanghai? I think even beating Miller has to be a pretty decent result for him at this point in time. And we will have the second set starting already. Again, yeah, that slider serve giving. Oh, Goffin is playing Shelton. That's interesting because Ben hasn't played since the US Open. Well, what happened in the first set obviously wasn't ideal for Lerner. The first game being a bit of a, solid moment for Jannik to say, I'm the boss here. And now he's not giving that to Sinner at all. He's 40 love up. And it's actually the best game of the match, I suppose, on serve so far for the Americans. So if you have hopes for the second set to be closer, this is the kind of start you wanted to see. And that's going to be out after the net clip from Jannik. Love 15. The way the Lerner Tien game works, you kind of also have that feeling, right? That if the opponent is comfortably ahead on the scoreboard, they're gonna be fine in like keeping that run probably. But if the opponent is under a bit of pressure, that's when he really can start shining, I think. So let's see if he can put Jannik under that kind of pressure. Jesus Christ. Trying to take it away from Jannik a little bit more here, punching the forehand more aggressively, but yeah, it's not that tough for Sinner to get back to neutral. But in the end, it's actually Sinner who overextends a little. Lerner punishes with the forehand down the line, and Jannik is gonna be late. So in this like exchange, in this like punching trade, he actually comes out on top. I think it's a pattern we haven't really seen thus far. Jannik backhand against the Lerner forehand cross court for like so long. We've definitely gone the opposite way. And this time it's actually Lerner who wins it. So 15-30. Can this get interesting now? Yeah, this time Jannik just goes for a lot more velocity on that backhand cross court. I think what he lacked in the previous rally was, yeah, that angle, the pace, was just being a little bit more safe, a little bit too safe with it. Like, sure, yeah, here he opens the door for Lerner to hit a forehand down the line or something like that. But again, the expected goals ratio on this would be really low, and he does find it. He does hit it into the net this time. Backhand down the line from Lerner, some really good movement, obviously, and he will get the first breakpoint of the match after a backhand into the net from Sinner. Sinner, by the way, has also been really good against lefties, hasn't lost to one since Shelton at 2023 Shanghai. Then again, I don't think these stats for Jannik matter a great deal because, well, he's just defeating anybody, basically, but Alcaraz since that loss. So I don't know if it's if it represents any significant strength against lefties. It's just that he's so strong overall. Good first serve. Will he put this away? Yes. Goes down the middle. Lerner kind of had to guess. And yeah, I mean, I can't even say he didn't anticipate correctly, which is what I wanted to say at first. But, he had to take a guess, and then Jannik still had enough time to see where he's going. So first breakpoint of the match, saved by Sinner. Of course, first breakpoint of the match on his delivery. It's another great first serve tee, and the return is going to be long. Promising start to the second set from Tien, but will he be able to get ahead on the scoreboard? That still remains to be seen. Yeah, ace out wide from Jannik, so that's going to be really helpful, needless to say. Yeah, I mean that Monfils retirement in 12 months, it's not really any like bomba, right? It's if it was this year, we'd be a bit surprised maybe, or we wouldn't really. But for next year, it's like still so much time. 14 months away from the last of the Musketeers to say goodbye. Of course, the new Musketeers, not the LeConte, Cochet, Borotra crowd. Ooh, yeah, you gotta put this away, Lerner, and it's love 30 now. He's kind of, I mean, I don't know if Vansh would agree with that, but there's a bit of Brandon Nakashima in Lerner, and Vansh loves them both. I mean, he just doesn't react to anything. He's just like, yeah, I missed the shot. He's walking back to the baseline. Same grin, same expression on his face as when he hit that ridiculous forehand down the line in the first set. Anyway, long point here. Jannik forced to hit off some uncomfortable spots, and nice from Lerner to switch to the inside out forehand. That was some great footwork there. Yeah, kind of what his game is all about, right? Made Sinner hit that pretty uncomfortable forehand, and then instantly there's the punish. Even though he might not have the most like natural pace, he can hit with pop when it's the right ball. Oh, that would have been a wicked return from Sinner, but it's actually not going to be in. So, 30 all. That love 30 point, Jesus. I mean, if Lerner holds here, that love 30 point. The return from Jannik clips the net and gives Lerner a reasonably tricky smash eventually, but no, he's going to put it away. And now he also has that outside chance. Yeah, looking good for the 2-1 lead. Let's see. All started with a great serve. I mean, the net clip kind of put him in a difficult scenario, but he handled it. Jannik scrambling. There's going to be a drop shot from Lerner, which I think makes it. But yeah, Jannik will not be able to play the shot back. 2-1. Big reaction from Michael Chang in the box. He's like, yeah, that's where I told you, son. I mean, I don't think he calls him son. But yeah, anyway. 2-1. Um, well, what else is there? Where did they put this match on in the afternoon in Beijing and not night? Well, Lerner Tien is playing tomorrow in Shanghai. That's for starters. Obviously, when they planned the final, like weeks prior, they didn't know that. But it would be kind of unfair if they had to play in Shanghai like on Thursday or Friday and played in Beijing until midnight on Wednesday, I think. But yeah, Lerner is playing Kecmanovic in Shanghai tomorrow. It's going to be pretty difficult. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. From the start of the tournament, the plan was to have the women's matches at night today and the finals earlier in the morning. ATP Weekly later today, anytime. Oh, Jesus. I forgot that's also a thing. Maybe after I'm back from table tennis. So it would be like 9-10 p.m. maybe. Yeah, I think that's no, 9 is a little too early. So like 10 p.m. would be probably good for me today. Yeah. I'm not sure that Monfils mentioned what his last event will be, but he just said before well, he said at the end of the season, so that would probably mean Paris. Yes. Unless he can qualify for the ATP finals. he, he mentioned that he's not expecting to win a slam, but he didn't say anything about qualifying for the finals, no? Yeah, Liverpool lost to Galatasaray yesterday. But how remind me, how did you do in Europe? Should have bought Osimhen instead of Isak. Anyway, Sinner ace down the tee. But no, Liverpool played some weird lineup as well. Like Salah only went on in the 62nd minute or something like that. Alisson got injured as well, and I think there was one more player who got injured. I don't remember who, but Mamardashvili went on for Alisson, and somebody else got injured. Ekitika maybe. I don't know how serious the injuries are though. Alisson getting injured, to be fair, I mean they have one of the best keepers in the world on the bench, so that doesn't really mean much. And Ekitika, I mean they also have too many attackers anyways. Even if they're out, it's not going to be like the worst thing, I guess. Anyway, quick hold here for Jannik, 2 games all. Needed that after the trickier start to the second set. Do I think Alcaraz is being treated harshly on Merseyside? You mean the Everton Carlos Alcaraz? I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen him play. Is he in Everton? I mean, I'm assuming because he said Merseyside. He's definitely not in Liverpool. I think he used to be like Southampton or something like that. I guess they're not in the league now, so maybe that's why he switched. But yeah, it's pretty fun that they're both named the same for sure. Especially as like Carlos Alcaraz, it's not like a very common name, I don't think, at least. And before getting to know the tennis Carlos Alcaraz, I was not aware of a person like that existing. So then when I saw there was a footballer at like, a really high level that's named the same, I was definitely quite shocked at first. I mean, David Moyes, United legend, I'm sure he knows what he's doing with Carlos Alcaraz. Beautiful backhand down the line from Jannik to get the first point, but again, he doesn't handle the slider serve. It's like one of these ones where you should be playing it better, but it's actually tough, and it might look easy from the outside perspective, but I think that if especially if like an amateur player was going to face Lerner Tien's serve, they'd just struggle so much. And even the pros do. Like again, what Arthur Fils was doing against it last year, just criminal. But then again, that's also a player with a backhand hole, and Lerner is good at capitalizing on that. Double faults, that's not going to help. And it's a really deep return from Jannik, who tries to go for the forehand down the line. And I wanted to say try because the trajectory of the ball was making me think that it might go out. But no, it's perfect. It's right there. So 2 breakpoints for Jannik to get a lead in the second set. And the deuce signed point, this is theoretically the one that Jannik should have a better chance at claiming. And he will as Lerner double faults again. Well, he was trying to go for it. He didn't want Jannik to just come away with a big return, step in, and take this away from him. Really, so he tried to take matters into his own hands. Did not work out, and now Sinner is up a set and a break. Munar in the third set against Fucsovics in Shanghai. We've got Holmgren up a set on Jordy Thompson. Daniel Altmaier leads Tristan Skulkate early. And we also have Manarino against Berrettini starting. Oh, I didn't know that a match like this was happening, but that's actually pretty fun. I definitely want to see Cilic Basiashvili later, Jere Vachereau. And the late matches in Shanghai are good too. Well, especially Marozsan Wawrinka. In terms of Beijing action, we also have Noskova playing against Potapova now, 5-2 and serving for the set. Probably the best match today is Kostyuk Pegula, I guess, but I don't know, not too excited about the slate today. We've already had the doubles final in Beijing today. Heliovara Paten defeating Khachanov and Rublev. Khachanov and Rublev not playing, of course, that much in doubles, but they've actually had, 3 ATP 1000 finals together, won one of them, so anytime they play, they're actually pretty good. So not that big a surprise, but yeah, Heliovara Paten ended up winning their second title this season after the Australian Open, which was also won by Jannik Sinner, but then Jannik Sinner won Wimbledon, which Heliovara Paten didn't. Well, at least not in 2025, because they did in 2024. I don't know why I'm talking about that, but well, you have to pass the time somehow. And now Jannik Sinner is up at the baseline, serving at 6-2-3-2. Got Lerner on the run and never lets go. To get the first point. Great deep return from the American, and he will have so much advantage here after that he just can put it away into the open space. Jannik just picked it up on the half volley, but was dropping really, really short. Just the one break point for Lerner so far, which I think was a big serve, and then, yeah, Sinner put away the +1 shot. So couldn't really do much on that one, I guess. Lerner switches first in that backhand cross-court, forehand cross-court exchange. Backhand from Sinner, of course. And yeah, actually, Jannik seems a little surprised with the pop that Lerner got here. Overall, I'd say that Jannik hasn't been recovering from that deep forehand corner too well today. Often one of his strengths. Maybe against Lerner is just a little different with the patterns. Because we know Jannik for all these insane monster cross-court forehands right on the run. And he's not doing that today. He is usually losing the point if he's like stretched deep there. But ace out wide, that will definitely help. And he has a game point to go 6-2, 4-2 up. An hour on the clock now. I think I said almost an hour. I think I said an hour and 15 minutes at the start of the match. So far, we're on track for that. Yeah, but actually he loses the next point. So the body serve was a good idea. Lerner was just like, basically using like like he was trying to kill a fly with his racket there. But Jannik doesn't know what to do with the next shot, and it's deuce now. 15 and 16 unforced errors for both players in this match. Of course, Jannik has a few more winners, but it's not like it's not a drastic advantage by any means. Some good recovery from Lerner again, and he has Jannik stretched now. He should get a break point out of this, right? Yeah, he does. Again, it's that very quick switch to the inside-out forehand that did most of the work here. As soon as the ball was a bit too centric from Jannik, he just jumps at it. Some nice aggression from, didn't start the point aggressively, but kind of off the back foot was able to turn defense into offense. And now, second breakpoint of the match for Ledner. Last call, sort of, you could argue. But again, the serve is just a bit too good from Jannik, isn't it? Yeah, it might be. He will let it bounce to... Yeah. It's really not a point that Ledner was ever going to win, I think, after the serve and the return. Letting it bounce was kind of the ultimate moment when you realize that Jannik is not going to waste it, because he's just taking it slow and trying to just be very, very thorough. Goes for an ace down the tee now, Jannik. 10 aces to none from Lerner. Wow. 10 aces is pretty extreme for sure. 4, 3, 7 games, 10 aces, yeah. So basically about 1.5 per game. And that's not an ace, but it is an unreturned serve, and it is 6-2, 4-2. Second breakpoint of the set for Lerner, but again, he had not much to do here after the great first serve from Jannik on the outside, so we're getting closer and closer to the ending of this match, probably. 62 minutes in, 6-2, 4-2 for Jannik Sinner. He's just 2 games away from becoming the third player to win 2 titles in Beijing. Djokovic has won 6 and Rafa has won 2. He is playing the final for the third year in a row, defeating Medvedev in 2023, losing to Alcaraz last year. He was obviously the major favorite to win this tournament before the tournament began, just like Alcaraz in Tokyo. Alcaraz did his thing, and now Sinner is looking to join him, essentially. It would be the first time since Djokovic and Nadal in early 2020, that's the world number 1 and world number 2, win a title in the same week on the ATP Tour. Back then, it was just before the pandemic. It was Dubai for Djokovic and Acapulco for Nadal. Djokovic Dubai being a little bit more memorable because it was just less dominant, as he had that Monfils match in the semifinals where Gael Monfils had his best ever chance to defeat Novak and didn't. Whereas Rafa, I think in Acapulco, at least that year, was fairly comfortable. And that's when the pandemic hit, right about there. Last year we had the Beijing final between Sinner and Alcaraz. This year, of course, Carlos going to Tokyo. I think that's just an appearance fee thing, but well, with the way that the ATP Tour is this year, the most likely outcome was going to be them winning titles, and now we're very close to that. Despite some sets dropped along the way. 2 for Jannik, I guess, somewhat unusually. That's a really good trade, and again, Lerner is surviving in it. If you allow him to play that kind of a ping-pong baseline rally, yeah, he looks pretty sublime. He's just using the power that you guys already have on the ball, doesn't have to inject anything, uses that, the angle of the racket, head, basically the wrist snap that he has, the hand skills. Yeah, that was really good. Obviously, at this point, he's kind of fighting for his life in this match, and any game is a must win. Double fault again. So Jannik has hit 10 aces. I think for Lerner, that's like the 6th double fault, maybe 7th. Not ideal. Number 6, yeah. That's already 4 games if you want to count it like that. 10 aces and 6 double faults, 16 for 4 points. I know it's a little stupid to count it like that, but you could probably. Lerner at the net, but this approach was not perfectly planned. And Jannik finds the backhand down the line winner to give himself another breakpoint and a chance to get an insurance break in the second set, which would surely mean almost game over. Not double faulting this time. And again, we have that cross-court exchange. Jannik mishitting a forehand, but it actually lands in. And he pushes Lerner out wide to his backhand side, which makes Lerner have to go for that down-the-line angle. And it's into the net in the high area of it. So 6-2, 5-2, and Jannik will serve for the match after the change of ends. 6-2, 5-2. I mean, well, I said at the start of the stream, 75 minutes, 6-2, 6-2. If Jannik holds, it's going to be 6-2, 6-2, but it's going to be a little bit shorter than 75 minutes. I don't know if it's a fortunate outcome. Probably not, but it is the one we were expecting. But let's see if he can close it out without any major issues. Jordan Thompson is potentially close to getting back level to level terms with Holmgren here. Munar up a break in the third on Fucovic. Manarino Berrettini has just started. That's a good match. I really didn't see it on the schedule. I forgot it exists. Noshkova defeating Potapova in the first set 6-2, and now they're just basically starting the second. I mean, I don't know if Fonseca will play the next gen finals. I don't know if Menchik will play the next gen finals. Technically, you have to play it. Like, technically, it's mandatory. It's like 25,000 fine or something like that if you don't, or 15,000. I don't remember. But, these players can afford it. Like, they have big sponsorships. If I was Menchik, if I was Fonseca, I wouldn't play. But there's an argument that Lerner Tien might not play either, right? I mean, last year we were thinking Menchik, Fields, Shang, they might skip it, and they all played. Even Fields, who was number 20. But I think we did see as well that for somebody like Fields, it was a problem to like kind of get himself going for that event. And we might see the same with Menchik this year, who also didn't perform last year, right? It was that group with Fonseca, Tien, Menchik, and Fields, and it was actually Fonseca and Tien who got out of it. Arthur had this one crazy match against Menchik, and then just was under too much pressure against Lerner. He put a lot of pressure on himself, and Menchik only played well in that dead rubber against Fonseca, which still is an unreal match. Honestly, one of my favorites ever. Best dead rubber we've seen for sure. But he only started performing once he was already out of the tournament, Menchik. So I think it's a serious problem. Yeah, that if you are in the top 20, like, why exactly are you playing this? If you are in the top 50, maybe. If you've already won it, like Fonseca, I don't know. It's difficult. Last year we expected a lot of players to skip and they didn't. So maybe it's just going to be the same. But then again, it's going to be once more that topic of like motivation being very vital to the entire conversation before the event. Anyway, 6-2, 5-2. Jannik is getting close to the win. In fact, he already has 3 match points. Just really strong serving in this game. And it's 3 championship points for Sinner to claim his second Beijing title. How quickly can he get this done? Not as quickly as the previous few points. Second serve, Lerner tries to put it in mostly. It's a net clip, but that only means the point continues. And he actually will stretch Sinner to the forehand again, where he's not moving too well today. Yeah, I really don't think on the run he's been covering it. It's just that, against Lerner, obviously, most of the points he's not going to be pushed movement-wise. But yeah, it's not that crazy Sinner cross-court forehand form that we sometimes see, where like on the full stretch he just hits with unreal pace and finds the winner. Anyway, 2 more championship points. Could use the serve. Not right now. Second serve again. And again, he's not going to close it out. Decent return at his feet from Tien. He sees the down the line opening because the ball was higher, because it was sitting up for him, punches it away, and just one more championship point for Jannik. Maybe he's trying to get to that 75-minute mark that I mentioned earlier. Again, second serve, so 3 championship points without a first serve, even though most of the match I think he's been hitting it at a pretty decent rate. But it's a great second serve, yeah, with a lot of slider, with a lot of slice on the Lerner forehand. The American trying to block, but I don't think he was expecting the ball also to kick away from him like that. And yeah, it's the title 6-2, 6-2 for Jannik Sinner. It's his 21st on tour level, only the third of the season, but you know, he's got 2 slams. So it's obviously the one that is the least high profile. However, yeah, Beijing, he was the main favorite. He was the top seed. He's only been losing to Alcaraz recently, more or less, especially on hard courts. Carlos was in Tokyo. He also claimed the title. So we've got the most likely outcome that we were expecting. I think that compared to last season, the fact that Alcaraz and Sinner didn't play the same event made these events worse. Because if you remember last year, like sure, Arthur Fils was mostly responsible for the entertainment value in Tokyo, and then Beijing was maybe also not that good besides the insane final. But because they were at the same event, you know, there was a lot more intrigue. Also in the other one, and now it's like, yeah, Sinner, Alcaraz won titles. What else is new, right? But yeah, this final, it couldn't really be much closer. I think that Lerner, it's not like he came out with any nerves today or he just did something poorly. I think Jannik matches up very well against him, was serving incredibly well for the most part. He can play very safe at big targets, and that's something you have to do against Lerner. Just keep like, you know, sustaining your aggression, controlling your attacking shots instead of overplaying and going for the risky angles, going for the low percentage shots down the line. And yeah, it was always going to be very difficult. It's a major moment for Lerner anyway to make this final. But to me, like, he is a player of a limit, right? Like, it's tough to imagine Lerner getting much better than he is right now, to be fair. Like, what exactly in his game do you expect to develop? I don't think there is much that he can do from here in terms of like taking what he has right now and just, I don't know, revolutionizing it. Not really. It's going to be a slow evolution. Maybe with the help of Michael Chang, he can get, you know, as good as he possibly can be. I think in fact he is a player who will like do absolutely everything to maximize the value of his ability. But I don't think it's ever going to be a game that like troubles Sinner Alcaraz and whoever joins the elite and contends for big titles. I don't think we can see it. And you know, after watching this final, it's like, yeah, I mean, Yannick would have to have a really bad day at the office. But like I said earlier, Yannick Sinner is the worst matchup for Alex de Minaur, so it makes sense that even if Tien is a lefty, and of course it's a slightly different style, but it makes sense that for somebody like Lerner, he'd also be a very tricky opponent. Just not much you can possibly get from him. You know, he's a machine. He's a cold-blooded killer. He never misses a step. I mean, it's like, what exactly are you going to expose? What exactly are you going to draw on if you're playing Yannick Sinner? Next up, of course, for Sinner is Shanghai, which Carlos withdrew from. Does that give him, you know, a chance to just dominate the title? Maybe dominate the tournament. We'll see. Yannick obviously won Shanghai last year. He should be a little bit fresher than the other top players right now because he didn't play for 3 months this season. And well, I don't know. Shanghai is going to be, of course, a long event, which is going to drag because it's only a men's event in the 1.5 week format. Personally, I am much more excited about the challengers this week and the next week after London Shanghai. It just feels like, I don't know, all these 96 player draws, there's too much of it, to be fair. But anyway, yeah, that's really going to be it for this stream. As you could already see in the chat, there's going to be ATP Weekly today because of the Tokyo, Beijing tournaments being over now, and we're going to chat that there. Plus, of course, Shanghai preview, even if the day one action in Shanghai has already begun and some matches will be completed. In fact, I think 14 matches are on the schedule today. Anyway, see you guys in the evening, I suppose. And yeah, thank you for this stream. And bye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.